This 4th of July in America promises to be one like no other. There's a Mars-Uranus conjunction that everyone is talking about because it's at the same time, on the same day, as our birthday. I think in times like these, we all want to kind of know what's going to happen so we can prepare ourselves. But in doing that, we don't allow ourselves to be moved, and we fix our sights to look for something instead of standing back and allowing our consciousness to be moved by what we are observing. So we try to fit what's happening into our fixed ideas of what we can conceive, missing what the universe is trying to help us see. In this video, we're going to look at three things. We're going to look at how Mars-Uranus conjunctions, they happen every 2 years, behave in America's chart. Then we're going to hop into what a Uranus conjunction, a Uranus return, looks like in America's chart. We've only had two, but we've been alive for, 250 years. So we've only gotten two. But you will get one when you're 84. So we're going to see how those behave. And then we're going to look at the underlying story and look at the transits coming up to understand what the invitation is of this very special transit that we're getting. It's kind of like someone showing up at a birthday party that you didn't expect. Mind you, I didn't say surprise party. So it's like, whoa, and the lights are thrown on and it's like, oh my gosh. So let's hop in. Mars-Uranus conjunctions happen every 2 years. In 2009, it happened in Pisces. So Mars had caught up to Uranus. And in America's chart, what was going on there at that time, because it squared our natal sun, we had Bernie Madoff, remember we were in the financial crisis, right, had confessed to his crimes. Barack Obama was president. He had negotiated a nuclear disarmament deal. But also then, with that conjunction, squaring our sun, our Cancer sun that wants security in the 7th house, we had the Tea Party starting to form, creating a cohesive unit to move forward that would change the political history of America. Fast forward to 2021. Uranus and Mars now conjunct in Taurus. Taurus is about self-worth or self-denial. In January of 2021, those two planets came together, January 6th. And although those planets came together on like the 20th, it's the build-up to them becoming exact where we start to see what they're trying to awaken us to. Uranus is awaken, Mars is getting things done. In an Earth sign, it's building up things or bringing up things that once made us feel secure. So that's what it was doing in 2021. Fast forward to August 2022, and we have Ketanji Brown Jackson confirmed as a Supreme Court judge. We have officers sentenced or charged in the Breonna Taylor incident and also in the George Floyd case. They were also searching Mar-a-Lago. The outcome of that January 6th event, now we're seeing follow-up in the search of Mar-a-Lago. Fast forward to 2022, in June of that year, July. We have the presidential debate has happened. We have Trump with the shot in the ear thing, and we have Biden pulling out of the race and Harris coming in instead. The Supreme Court had also just made its decision on presidential immunity. Taurus is about our values. So it was an awakening. January 6th started that process, but it built up to that final conjunction. So you can say, these conjunctions happen, right? And nothing gets solved in them. The sole purpose is to help us break through our conscious barriers. Who could have conceived a January 6th prior to that? Yesterday, Jack Smith talking about the release of the Eileen Cannon papers, that his rulings, his research that he had done on Trump, the part 2. And they had been sent out by the DOJ in a Keystone Cops kind of way, while at the same time the DOJ is pressing charges against this woman who sent them to herself, a lawyer who was involved in the case. and they committed the same crime. You see, these Mars-Uranus connections are just to kind of throw a light on. And that's what's going to happen with the one that we're getting tomorrow with, the sun involved. In the sun, being conjunct our natal sun while this awakening is occurring. The sun is our path. It changes how we see things. January 6th did that in a different way. We are now in the sign of Gemini. It's awakening how we make sense of things. We knew in January that we would get this conjunction. We did not anticipate a January 6th. I don't think it's in our divine best interest to do that, although it is calming and soothing. Astrologers are sought after, so are psychics, because they can help us prepare. But they will all tell you the same. They are only given so much information, because if we knew the ending, we wouldn't do the real living that we do, making all the mistakes, taking all the emotional risks. Let's go on to the Uranus conjunctions. So Uranus has conjuncted twice in America's history. In 1860 and 1861, the last time that the conjunction occurred in 1861 was the battle at Fort Sumter. And that was, for American history, if you don't watch Heather Cox Richardson, watch her. Fort Sumter, South Carolina had seceded from the Union. Lincoln had just been elected president, was interested in keeping the Union together, and they had seceded, and they sent the U.S. Army down there to, get South Carolina to do differently. Well, it didn't work well. The United States government lost in doing that strong arming, right? So, and other states followed to secede the Union. And the Civil War started, okay? This does not mean that when the same transit happens again in 2027 and 2028, because we will get the conjunction on the Mars-Uranus conjunction on our natal Uranus, it does not mean we're going to have another civil war. I will go back to a presentation that I did in 2017 to a community, about astrology. And I said that then, and I'm sure other astrologers have said it too, we will be the divided states of America for a while. And the upcoming transits that I'll share with you at the end talk about this. It's okay. It's okay that we do this. It was okay that they did it back then. The issues of slavery were addressed again. We didn't solve them. We will solve them differently this time. But we will visit these things again, and we will create version 2.0 of our Constitution. My husband used to laugh at me when I would say, we're writing a new Constitution. I tell you, in the 30s, 2030s, 2040s, we will have a new Constitution. Men will not be mentioned. Our Constitution will look very different. Our leadership processes will look very different. And I still think we're headed that way. Even if others don't believe it, I still think we're going to have a new Constitution. Now, the next Uranus return that we got in America's chart happened in May of 1944. Now, back then, it was just a one-time pass. Back in the 1860s, 1861, it went over our natal Uranus, and then it came back, and then it went over again. It was a deep study. It was digging up deep things in the young portion of our little nation back then, less than 100 years old, just digging it up, right? Putting stuff out for us to see. Well, this time in 1944, it's just a one-time pass. Now, what was happening at that Uranus conjunction, that Uranus return, is this new start in America's role. We were negotiating with other countries to do D-Day, right? To, get on the beaches of Normandy and free France. That would change the path of the war. We were a new kind of nation with a new kind of power to negotiate with others. Our sun in the 7th house, the power of negotiation, fairness, diplomatic power. The gist of it, right? Let me show you the chart for America and talk a little bit about what the other aspects of this chart are inviting us to see. So here we are on the 4th of July. Here's the conjunction, Mars and Uranus. They're within 4-5 degrees of our natal Uranus, so they're getting close. We need to pay attention to not the big event of that people are predicting, a big happening that will take us off this train wreck of a course that we're on, but to pay attention to how we are being asked to perceive things differently. Our media is very much involved in this because it's in Gemini. But here's the solar return, right? We get these every year, and it's awakening us, it's alerting us to our path, our choices that we have to do this path. Every time your birthday rolls around, there's this little bit of reflection, and then the choices that happen in going forward, that kind of energy. Here we are getting this on the 4th of July, but we're getting a little kick here to go further, to go deeper. Uranus in Gemini wants us to question the logic of our systems. The 6th house are the systems that we create to do life. We are constantly refining them in the effort to find self-mastery, to do better, to be of service, to attain our goals in life. These are the functions and the systems that we use to do that. So we're questioning the logic of our systems, Gemini. The media, again, is involved in this, how we communicate, our networks, the reporting. Where is the truth in the lies that we use to master our daily living? It's time to take stock of what makes sense. That's the gist of this. But it's not the only player. Look at Saturn down here in Aries in our 4th house. The 4th house is in just security. It's the history of our land. It's our legacy. We have Saturn there learning hard lessons because Saturn are the obstacles. In Aries, self-empowerment. It is opposite our natal Saturn placement in Libra, which wants to find justice, balance, or at least be seen in that way. We have a power dynamic here. An opposition is like yelling across the room. Neither can understand the other. This is fire, this is air. They can fuel each other. But Saturn in Libra, you can see the processes of who's telling the truth, who knows the truth. We have a government in place right now that is testing our power, that is testing what we can do in life. And we can see it bubbling up in the people in America with the No Kings March, with the amount of resistance that we're getting even in the media, right? People leaving these large media organizations to form their own media. And then we have Mars in Gemini. Mars wants to get stuff done. It wants to move things around. It wants to talk. It wants to do battle with words. It wants to debate. And so you can get more information about that dynamic that we have with Saturn transiting Saturn in Aries, and then our natal Saturn in Libra. And that Libra is air, connected to Gemini, which is also air, right? One is seeking justice. The other is just seeking to talk. Our obstacles are in our empowerment to do that. So some freedom of speech things may come up, not being able to speak. Back to the chart, the other thing that's really interesting here is we have Mercury conjunct our natal Mercury. And in the 8th house, these are hard emotional conversations. Thinking through those things. These are sacrifices that we're making to our values. And here we have Jupiter just entering Leo, getting ready to conjunct our North Node. And that would happen, that would bring up that North Node stuff. Let's look at the date here. When it gets to about 7, we're watching it, 5, 6, 7. Okay, it's building up toward the end of July. Those conversations are getting louder. Mercury is now direct. Mercury here is now direct. It was retrograde before. The Sun and Jupiter will come together over the North Node. There's something happening here, and regardless of what events we see, what the universe is asking us to do in this place we call America, in our role in this world of these 7 continents, is to look at where we're trying to find our voice, that's Leo, expressing ourselves, the joy in life, what brings us, what lights that fire within, right? It's asking us to look at that, to be bigger with the Sun and Jupiter there on that North Node, barring any other aspects, because I don't want to get into a total analysis of the charts, because it makes these videos too long. So, just saying, we have these aspects coming up, right, that are really important. But there's a story underneath all of this that's not on your regular transit chart. That's really important to see, to understand where America is in its journey, and to think about the role that you can play in, as you are asked to awaken your consciousness with these transits. America's getting the wake up, but you're getting it in your own chart as well. It's the conversations you're having with other people. It's what you're doing in your community. It's how your aspirations are fitting into the bigger picture of who you are in this world, because that affects the direction of America. It's this kinetic energy called will, called love, that changes the world. It's not the decisions, it's the energy behind the decisions. And this is why the people who think they have the power now because they're controlling the levers that we've created in this world, that's going to change. We'll look at that after we look at the solar arcs. So let's look at the solar arcs. Let me explain first how I look at it. You don't have to look at it this way. This is just my way. When you get a transit in your chart, it's like some character coming on your stage in life to talk to your main characters. It's a conversation. But there are plot changes, plot shifts, plot twists happening underneath your chart. They can be seen through solar arc. Solar arc is the idea that as you grow, as you change, your mission evolves. So what it looks like is the sun advances 1 degree each year. All the other planets do too. They follow in that same order. Well, the location of the sun when America was born was in Cancer. It is now in Pisces. Let's take a look at the chart. Because what this says is America's path, its light, the sun, although it will always be a Cancerian about holding on to the values, emotional safety in its dealings with others, protecting its people, protecting its family. It'll always be about that. But it has now taken on an air of Pisces, getting the bigger picture, understanding how the little pieces come together, understanding where there is deceit, what is delusional, and what is divine. Here's what I mean. There's our natal sun. It has traveled all the way around here, and interesting things have happened as it's made aspects. But it's now down at 21 Pisces. What is so interesting is that it is opposing our natal Neptune. It is squaring our natal Mars. Saturn, 2 years ago, finished with a conversation with our natal Mars about blocks to our diplomatic power. This speaks to the people as well, in this Gemini fashion. Information we've gotten wrong, where we've been lied to. Now the sun has moved into place to square it and to oppose Neptune. The sun, in its square to Mars, also talking to Neptune, is shining a light on this battle that has taken place. It is looking at Neptune, opposite the chart, our big dreams, our discerning, our creative power that got distracted, confused, delusional about how to go about our dreams. The sun is a flashlight on all of that. So that's a plot twist underneath. That's a new plot opening up. In the coming years, 2027 through 2044, each branch of our government in its chart has prominent Aquarius in it. The ask for America was to give a voice to the people, to go through that struggle of being a cult and finding corporation, or that we can have multiple voices and a process that allows all of those voices to express themselves and to be respected, but we have a common governance process. America was born with that. All those branches of government, all those charts are going to be getting Pluto aspects because we all have, in those charts, have prominent Aquarius placements. The first to get the aspect is going to be the South Node in Aquarius in the Declaration of Independence. So in that bucket that we've talked about before in previous videos, that gathers forward habits that we just don't need anymore, about cult-like habits, because remember the South Node is the shadow. So the shadow of Aquarius, where we just blindly believe someone, we trust our processes to someone else, that's getting emptied out in 2027, 2028. Right after that, in 2032 and 2033, is our Constitution's natal Pluto conjunction. We went through it already with Pluto and Capricorn in America's chart back in 2020 with COVID. Now, we're getting that same Pluto aspect to our chart, our Constitution, changing that dynamic. Again, my husband is like, yeah, it's never going to be rewritten. Oh, yes, it is. We are going to take it apart and rebuild. Then, in 2035, the Supreme Court and Congress have Pluto conjunct Venus. How we relate to others, how we relate to the people, our values. We are going to see changes in how the Supreme Court works. It hand in hand with rewriting this Constitution. In 2039, Pluto will conjunct the natal Saturn in our Constitution's first house. Self-empowerment. Blocks to self-empowerment. What are those blocks to self-empowerment? I think the rewriting of the Constitution, sorry, it's about to storm here, so it's getting really dark. The Constitution is going to be changed to be a vehicle for the people. We are always going to struggle with money, power, control, that kind of stuff. But I think the aspect that I'm going to talk about next as we start to feel this aspect, which is Pluto getting onto the moon of our Declaration of Independence, that's going to totally shift this corporation-run country that we have. People are getting pissed. Goodness, I need to finish this because we might be under tornado warnings. Okay, here we go. People could say that we do this all the time. We're always doing the same old battle, same old thing, nothing gets solved, but it will. Because we have seen in the past renaissances be born. There's this guy named Adam Walker, who I watch, Verse Community, Harvard PhD in poetry, but he's so much more than that. And he's talking about, and he's actually writing a book about the upcoming Renaissance. These periods where people have been dehumanized, bring us back to something. It awakens something in us, the arts, the sciences. We look at life differently. And that's what happens when Pluto comes in and takes everything out of that toxic basement and throws it out for you to see. Pluto doesn't fix things. It just brings it up and says, emotionally, you need to deal with it. And so we will. And the great minds that are now, whatever age they are going to start creating solutions. And this renaissance of arts, as we watch the arts being taken away, right? He has some great videos on how the arts are being taken away. And oh my gosh, can't recommend Adam Walker enough. We are in the birth canal of something new. A renaissance of changing the way this country works, and it will in turn change the way the rest of the world works. Not because we're important, because we are going to be taken off the ladder. This is equality in the world. We can no longer have superpowers. We've seen the ills of that, but we're going to have a more balanced approach. We may end up with a similar governance process that they have in the UK, a parliament, or something new, better than that, a remix of that. So this Mars-Uranus conjunction that we're getting is a character coming into the room to talk about things, to trigger some conversations. Events might happen. The brunt of the work is not done in the ideas of the people who have power. The brunt of the work of changing the energy of our beautiful world is done inside each of us, in how we think and how we relate to others, what we choose to believe, what we choose not to believe. And on that note, I thank you, and I wish you a happy 4th of July. This country, yeah, she's changing, but it's us who are in charge. The other folks, they just think they are. They'll find out soon enough. See you next time.